Donald Trump just got into a huge heated argument with Zelensky, and it seems like this relationship is absolutely killed. Now, it was getting to a point where Donald Trump seems like he is not wanting to be allies with Ukraine and instead wants to ally with Russia because, typically speaking, with our allies, we're willing to engage in diplomacy with them. Whereas the Trump administration wants to engage in diplomacy specifically with Russia, but doesn't want to engage in diplomacy with Canada in the same type of way they threaten tariffs, but they're not doing that same thing with Russia. So it's really crazy that Donald Trump is putting pressure on our allies, but then deciding not to put that same type of pressure on Russia. So absolutely scream and yell at Zelensky when he gets into a heated exchange with him because he thinks that they have supported Ukraine too much.
I want to respond to this. So, look, for 4 years in the United States of America, we had a president who stood up at press conferences and talked tough about Vladimir Putin, and then Putin invaded Ukraine and destroyed a significant chunk of the country. The path to peace and the path to prosperity is maybe engaging in diplomacy. We tried the pathway of Joe Biden of thumping our chest and pretending that the president of the United States' words mattered more than the president of the United States' actions.
It's so crazy the absolute hypocrisy in JD Vance's statements because their entire claims about their threats of tariffs are about like how they're going to listen to Donald Trump's words and that he's not going to actually enact them. It's just renegotiation. But apparently that's an issue whenever it comes to literally against Vladimir Putin. So it seems like they're treating Vladimir Putin like an ally, but again, they're not treating Canada like an ally or Europe like our allies. It's really weird how the Trump administration is playing the whole foreign policy right now.
What makes America a good country is America engaging in diplomacy. That's what President Trump is doing.
If engaging in diplomacy is what makes America great, how can you simultaneously support literally threatening Canada with tariffs? Please explain to me. Watch Vladimir Zelensky absolutely break it down for JD Vance right now and show him how insane that position is for someone like Vladimir Zelensky to have to hear coming from the Trump administration.
You know that we had conversations with him, a lot of conversation, my bilateral conversation, and we signed with him, me, like a new president. In 2019, I signed with him the deal. I signed with him, Macron and Merkel, we signed ceasefire. Ceasefire, all of them told me that he will never go. We signed him with gas contract. Yes, but after that, he broken this ceasefire. He killed our people and he didn't exchange prisoners. We signed the exchange of prisoners, but he didn't do it. What kind of diplomacy, JD, you are speaking about? What do you mean?
JD has no answer to this question. He literally was absolutely spooked. Watch this response from JD Vance. Absolutely spooked when Zelensky runs his argument against him. What actual diplomacy will Russia engage in? Again, they think that it's so hard to get diplomacy with Canada. They have to use tariffs. They have to use threats. But apparently with Russia, diplomacy is a lot easier, even though in the past, when they've established ceasefire agreements, they've broke those agreements, like exactly with the Budapest Memorandum.
mean?
I'm talking about the kind of diplomacy that's going to end the destruction of your country.
Yes, but if you
Mr. President, with respect, I think it's disrespectful for you to come into the Oval Office and try to litigate this in front of the American media. Right now, you guys are going around and forcing conscripts to the front lines because you have manpower problems. You should be thanking.
I think JD Vance is just mad that Zelensky is trying to hold him accountable for the crazy views that he has about supporting Ukraine, a country that we signed an allyship with, an agreement with, the Budapest Memorandum, that Russia also signed and violated.
President for trying to bring it into this conflict.
Have you ever been to Ukraine that you say what problems we have?
I have been to.
Count once.
I've actually watched and seen the stories, and I know
Watched and seen the stories. You're comparing. Look at Zelensky's face right now. JD Vance is seriously sitting in the Oval Office comparing watching and seeing stories on the media comparative to literally literally Zelensky being on the fucking ground the entire time and being invested in that. Obviously, Zelensky knows significantly more than JD Vance, someone who clearly, right, is showing a lack of understanding of what's going on in the situation right now.
You bring them on a propaganda tour, Mr. President. Do you
A
disagree that you've
propaganda
had
tour?
problems bringing people into your military?
have
And do you think that it's
I will
respectful
answer.
to come to the Oval Office of
will
the United
answer.
States of America and attack the administration that is trying to
He's like actually yelling at Zelensky right now for literally saying that his position in support of Russia is not going to help defend Ukraine. That's all Zelensky is saying. He's saying literally last time the ceasefire was in effect, it didn't actually help. It didn't work because they literally just violated it.
prevent the destruction of your country?
A lot of questions. Let's start from the beginning.
Sure.
First of all, during the war, everybody has problems. Even you, but you have nice ocean and don't feel now, but you will feel it in the future. God bless.
You don't know that.
God bless.
You don't
God
know that.
bless. You will not have a war.
Don't tell us what we're going to feel. We're trying to solve a problem. Don't tell us what we're going to feel.
I'm not telling you.
Because
I'm
you're in no
answering on this
position to
question.
dictate that.
That's
Remember
exactly what
this.
you're doing.
I'm not
You're in
dictating.
no position to dictate.
Why is
what-
Trump so rude? Like Zelensky's being so nice. Literally look at him. He feels like he literally can't say anything because they're so insane. They'll react to anything unless they get their way. Exactly.
we're going to feel?
You
We're
will-
going to feel very
Wait, they said don't tell us how we're going to feel after JD Vance literally just said to Zelensky, "How dare you come up here and do this as disrespect, saying that like we should address these types of issues in front of the public." Literally, he was telling Zelensky how he should feel when Russia is invading them, annexing their territory, and killing their people.
You will
good.
feel influence.
We're going to feel
I'm-
very
I'm
good and
telling
very
you,
strong.
You will feel influence.
You're right now not in a very good position.
What, dude? You're right now in a not very good position. Right now, you're not doing what we want. If you do what we want, I promise you, it will be very bad as well. But like, it'll be great for us. It'll be incredible for us.
You've allowed
From the
yourself
very-
to be in a
from
very
the very
bad position,
beginning
and he
of the
happens
war.
to be right about
From the
it.
very beginning of the war.
You're not
Mr.
in a
Brown,
good position.
I
You
was
don't have
in
the cards right now. With us, you start having
not
cards.
playing cards.
Right now, you
I'm
don't.
very
You're playing
serious,
cards.
Mr. President.
You're
I'm
playing
very
cards.
serious.
Yeah, literally, Donald Trump thinks this as a game, as they're playing cards, whereas Zelensky sees the value in the human lives that are being lost. Donald Trump is using them as pawns, as political messaging, whereas Zelensky here seemingly is caring about his people and just trying to advocate for that. Whereas Donald Trump's like screaming at him saying, "You don't have the cards. You don't have the cards. No cards. No cards. You don't have no cards. I promise you, no cards. No."
You're
I'm
gambling with the
president
lives
in
of
war.
millions of people.
You think-
You're gambling with World War
What you're-
III.
what you're
You're
speaking
gambling
about?
with
What you're
World
speaking
War
about?
III. And
You-
what you're doing is very disrespectful to the country, this country.
I'm
That's
with
back
all
to you.
respect to you.
Far
What?
more than a lot of people said.
Is it not disrespectful to not uphold literally the treaty that you signed with Ukraine, the Budapest Memorandum? What's disrespectful here? I think that's what's disrespectful, and for you to sit there and scream at him when he's just trying to explain the issue that you're not supporting in this scenario.
They should have.
Have you said thank you once this
A lot
entire
of
meeting?
time.
What? What do you mean? Thank you. Thank you to them for literally trying to help Russia take their fucking land. What are you talking about? What are you saying? What should they be? JD Vance, can you please tell me what they should be thanking you for?
No, in this
Even
entire meeting
today-
that you said thank
even
you,
today.
you went to Pennsylvania and campaigned for the opposition in October. Offer some words of appreciation for the United States
you're
of
speaking
America
about?
and the president who's trying to save your country.
Save your
Please.
country? What do you mean save the country when he's advocating that Russia should be able to take the land when in the past, when they have taken these types of agreements with Russia, again, Russia just violates the agreements. Why should they expect that an agreement with Russia is actually going to be maintained? They act like it's peaceful, but the point that Zelensky is arguing is that it was never peaceful.
You think that if you will speak very loudly about the war, you
He's
can.
not speaking loudly. He's not
He-
speaking loudly. Your country's
Can I-
in big
can I-
trouble.
Why is Trump not letting Zelensky speak? Zelensky is very calmly trying to explain what's happening, and Trump is very angrily cutting him off, as if it is the case that, like, Zelensky is saying something outlandish right now.
Can I
Wait a
answer?
minute. No,
Can
you've
I
done a lot
answer?
of talking. Your country is in big
No,
trouble.
no, you've done a lot of talking, Donald. He's done barely any talking here.
I know.
You're not
I
winning.
know.
You're not winning this. You have a damn good chance of
we are
coming out
staying,
okay because of
Mr.
us.
President, we are staying in our country, staying strong from the very beginning of the war. We've been alone, and we are thankful. I said thanks
You haven't
in
been
this
alone.
cabinet,
You
and
haven't
not
been
only
alone.
in this.
Dollars.
You
We
voted
gave
for
you
your
military
president.
equipment,
You
and you
voted
men
for
are
your
brave, but they had to
president.
use our military.
Yes. What about Vance?
If you didn't have
He's literally screaming at him and not letting him speak at all. Talk about disrespect. Donald Trump came on here talking about disrespect, but he's been nothing but disrespectful to Zelensky.
You
our
invited
military
me-
equipment,
You invited
if
me
you
to
didn't
speak
have our military equipment, this war would have been over in 2 weeks.
in 3
And this country promised military equipment and assistance if they gave up their nuclear weapons, which they did. And we assigned that agreement. Now we're not upholding it. So is that, like, respectful for us to not uphold the agreement?
days. I heard it from Putin. In 3 days. This is something
Maybe
new.
less.
In 2 weeks. Of course, yes.
It's going to be a very hard thing to do business like this. I
Again,
tell you.
just say thank you.
I said a lot of.
Why is he JD Vance, why do you keep asking for a thank you, bro? What do you want to thank you for, JD? Seriously.
Except
To
that-
American people.
Except that there are disagreements, and let's go litigate those disagreements rather than trying to fight it out in the American media when you're wrong.
Why? Because you don't want to be held accountable for it? And you're just saying that he's wrong and not letting him explain why you are actually wrong, JD.
Know that you're wrong.
But you see, I think it's good for the American people to see what's going on.
Yeah, it is really good for the American people to see what a shit show your presidency is.
Answer.
I think it's very
understand.
important. That's why I kept this going so long. You have to be thankful. You don't have the
I'm
cards.
thankful.
You're buried there. Your people are dying.
tell you
You're
again,
running
I
low
know.
on soldiers.
Don't-
Listen,
don't please,
you're running
Mr.
low on
President.
soldiers. It would be a damn good thing.
Mr.
And then
President.
then you tell us, I don't want a ceasefire. I don't want a ceasefire. I want to go and I want this. Look, right now, I tell you, you take it so the bullets stop flying and your men stop getting killed.
Of course, we want to stop the war.
But you're
I
saying
said-
you don't want a ceasefire.
But I said to you,
I want a ceasefire.
with guarantees.
Because you'll get a ceasefire faster than an agreement.
Ask-
He said that he wants a ceasefire with guarantees. Why is Donald Trump portraying his position as if it is the case that he doesn't want a ceasefire if he just wants a conditional ceasefire with certain guarantees that they're not going to be invaded and that they will have a country?